week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic. We're still without Mike today. We're here for another episode of the Magic Mike Show. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday afternoon. And if you are watching live or watching the replay, you might recognize the guy joining me for today's show, Mr. Aaron Halterman, the better dude who hired me. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm super pumped to be on the show. I'm coming in hot. There's something that just happened that's made me upset that I'm going to talk about. I have a lot of I've really prepared for this well because I love the Monday shows that you and Mike do because it's a lot of educational stuff that you guys have gotten into. So I really have prepared. I'm going to try to give everybody watching and then listening to the podcast in the days to come a few tips and a few things to really look forward to. So I'm excited, man.
Well, we're going to see how many technical snafus we have today. I've already forgotten to hit record, so the introduction to the podcast will have to be added. I'll have to do a little editing magic at the beginning, but no, it's fine. As long as you don't, miss too many genders for the horses, I think you'll be doing okay filling in for Mr. Samich today.
I promise I'm not going to do any of that. I'm pretty confident in the gender of the horses. I think that's an experience thing as you've been in it. And it's kind of weird that I'm kind of become like the old man of this group. It feels a little strange, but I feel like I'm kind of the mentor now of these younger people that are getting into the game. And it's like, I've been here years and years. It's no big deal. I'll tell you what to do. So.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you are the one who taught me how to record a podcast in the first place. So it was a fun, interesting experiment. It was 2 years ago, almost to the day that you and I were at Del Mar together because I saw it pop up on Facebook. I spent 8 hours driving about 100 miles trying to get to Del Mar from where I live. And I showed up. You and the guys from the Arkansas boys were there, and I got there just in time to watch my horse run second to last in a race. And after I turned and looked at you and said, well, that was worth the 8-hour drive, and just walked away.
Yeah,
memories.
I was pretty drunk by the time you got there.
You were far along. Yeah, you were pretty. I mean, if anybody's been to the track with Aaron, it's usually there's like a thing that you walk through the gate, and it's like you've just been showered in rum, and you were just instantly like fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, that was like the 8th or 9th race, and I was there with like the Arkansas crew, and we had a really, really good time when we go. Not that the dudes don't either; we do as well. We were really having a good time that day, and yeah. I was happy to see you. Let's put it that way. Yeah,
well, Aaron, you are, of course, a veteran of watching and listening to the Magic Mike Show. You are, as you called it, your stat boy. If you watch Pardon the Interruption, Tony Reale's job was to correct the host at the end of it. Aaron is my own personal stat boy. He'll text me whenever he almost swerves off the road because we got something wrong. So we'll see how today's show goes. We're going to be talking. We got a lot to talk about, Aaron. We got the Travers to talk about. We've got the test stakes, the ballerina. Couple of DQs that we saw over the weekend I thought would be a good educational experience for us to talk through how you and I each saw those disqualifications, if we agreed with the stewards or not. Before we get into it, Aaron, you know what's coming. What's the best thing you saw this weekend?
Man, it just happened. It just freaking happened like 10 minutes ago. The new NTRA poll came out, okay? And I was, I like the headline was Tiz the Law keeps lead in 3-year-old division. I was like, okay, thanks for Ryan. I mean, I'm really shocked about that, right? So I go, okay, how many votes did he get in the number 1 overall horse? And I see he got 12. I'm like, okay, he should get more. I had him number 1 last week. I had him number 1 this week. He should got more, but I can live with 12. He's 6th overall because 12 people did not rank him in the top 10. Can you imagine living in that world where you think Tiz the Law is not one of the 10 top racehorses in the country right now?
we're going to go. I'm so glad that this is the best thing that you saw, and it's out of spite because this is a terrible decision. The way that this shows up, somebody has been ranking Vekoma as the, I get this one in the other poll confused, but somebody's been ranking Vekoma as a Breeders' Cup Classic winner and has definitely been putting him at the very top for this thoroughbred ranking. You could, say the 2 wins he had, the Carter and the Met Mile, yeah, he deserves to be up near the top. But when we're talking about Tom's D'Etat and Tiz the Law and how they've been running recently, I'm with you, man. I don't see how what are they looking at? And why are you even voting? There's someone who still is voting Nadal, at least last time I looked a couple of weeks ago, was voting Nadal in the top 2 or 3. And sure, if you hadn't gotten hurt, we can talk about that. But you're kind of supposed to, this is supposed to be for the Kentucky Derby rankings a little bit, isn't it?
Well, yeah. And then here's the deal. I'm not here, I agree with you on Vekoma. I don't think he should be a number 1 type horse, but I'm not really here to even get that far into it. It's like, if you want to rank Vekoma number 1, I'm actually okay with that. How can Tiz the Law not be on 12 ballots? He got 12 first place votes, and he's not even on 12 other people's lists of top 10s. It's crazy. He got 12 first place votes, and he's 6th overall out of the top 10. I mean, this was the craziest thing I've seen in weeks. I absolutely could not believe this. It was, I was just like baffled by this. Well, people are ranking Network Effect. People are ranking Starship Jubilee. I mean, give me a break right now.
Yeah, I'm putting it up on the share screen. You're watching live or the replay here just to try. You can see this is the top 4 because I zoomed in because I want to put some of these people on blast. If he's not even in your top 4, can I have your vote? Because Aaron does a great job with it. Jared does a great job with it. If you're not going to treat this seriously, which, I mean, look, we all kind of know Aaron's opinion of this poll in general. It doesn't really mean jack. But if you're not even going to take this remotely seriously, get out. Give it to somebody like me who can actually try.
Well, I just don't get it. And a lot of people are obsessed with the 4-year-olds are just naturally better than 3-year-olds. Like, that's a thing I've heard for years and years. I remember when American Pharoah was getting ready to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and everybody was like, he has absolutely no shot. He can't beat older horses. That shit doesn't matter, especially when you get later into the season. It doesn't matter. Look at the Classic. 3-year-olds win the Classic all the time. I mean, it's just one of those things. Talent is talent, especially when you get this late in the season. There's not but maybe 1 or 2 horses that in the whole country that you can make a case would have beat Tiz the Law last Saturday, right? Like Tom's D'Etat as his best race. Maybe he would have beat him. Okay, I'll give you that. Who else?
Yeah, it's August. Like if we were back in March when there's still so many questions and so long, and a lot of these horses haven't even started to come back yet, that's different. But a great point from Michael Myers, one of our regular followers, put up on the screen there. It may not matter really to anything. Less educated bettors look at these rankings, and people will bet somewhat, or at least be swayed on this. And so I guess in that sense, it does matter. And the NTRA is a legitimate organization. They try very hard to promote the sport and get people interested. So it's something that they use as a tool to try and get people. Anyways, it's a complete joke, but would it really be horse racing if you didn't have some jack wagons out there just doing that?
This is true.
The best thing that I saw, did you watch Saved by the Bell when you were a kid, Aaron?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So did you know that there's a reboot coming of it? I shouldn't say reboot, a continuation. They're bringing it back.
Wait, with the same people? No way, not with the same people.
Roughly the same people. So here's how it's working. I was initially like, this is stupid, but listen, if you like I loved Saved by the Bell.
Oh yeah.
So what they're doing is it's AC Slater, Mario Lopez, and Elizabeth Berkley, Jesse Spano. They're now teachers at Bayside, and like the Max is still there, and this other like less affluent school gets shut down for funding. Supposedly it's because Governor Zach Morris cut all education funding. They're trying to work out Mark Paul Gosselaar, who played Zach Morris, if they can get him to actually be on the show because of scheduling. But the premise is that AC Slater and Jesse Spano are teachers at this school, and that shut down school, those kids from the other side of the tracks come to Bayside, and when they show up to Bayside is still stuck in the early 90s in terms of fashion, style. It's the most ridiculous thing. Like, they're purposely leaning into how ridiculous Saved by the Bell is if you watch it now. But they just released a new trailer today for the show. When you get done watching or listening, go watch that. It's about 50 seconds long. It's just incredible. Like, they're very purposely just playing up. Yeah, we know the nostalgia and how ridiculous it was, and we're just going to full force with it. I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it.
Can I change the best thing I saw today to when I watched that, because I'm super excited for that now. I actually learned about Zach Morris's trash on what is that, Amazon Prime? Is that what it's on?
Yeah, it's on Prime. Yep.
You taught me, or you told me about that. Actually, listening to a Magic Mike show way back when, I watched all of those. I mean, I'm a huge Saved by the Bell fan. Watched it all. That is hilarious. I can't wait.
Yeah, it was. I had just found out about it a couple of weeks before, and then Mike made it the best thing that he saw because he just found out about it, and it was hard not to go into a 10-minute spiel just about Zach. So if you like Saved by the Bell, go to Amazon Prime. It's a College Humor production, so go to collegehumor.com. But Zach Morris is trash. They pick an episode and they spend 3 to 5 minutes telling you why Zach Morris is the worst human being in the world because of his actions in the episode.
Really funny.
Yeah, especially if you watched it and you remember the episode very well. You're like, well, yeah, he's pretty bad. But hey, as much as I'd love to sit here and talk about Saved by the Bell for the next hour, Aaron, that's not what everybody else is here for. We've got the Travers Stakes to talk about. We've got Saratoga's big races, some Del Mar action. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. All right, Aaron, kicking things off. Let's not waste any time. We're going to the big race on Saturday, the $1 million Run Happy Travers Stakes. Tiz the Law. Wow. That's all I kept saying. I mean, I made the headline for 3 stars a week, just wow, wow, wow. Because every time I think about the race or watch that replay, which is a lot more than I'd care to admit right now, I just keep saying, wow, that was so impressive. I'm a person who tends to be a prisoner of the moment. You have been following horse racing for almost as long as you and I have been around on the earth. So I defer to you when it comes to historical comparisons. That's why I asked Saratoga Slim on the live stream, where does this rank in terms of Travers performances? And he put it right behind Arrogate. But tell me what you thought about the Travers race and Tiz the Law and everything that you saw.
Yeah, I've been covering racing, hardcore since about 2010, but have been following since about 2007. And I can only think of Arrogate as being better than what we saw on Saturday. So I'm 100% with Slim when he said Tiz the Law is probably second best that he's seen. It was awesome. And the thing about it is, I've always looked at Tiz the Law and said he's a good horse. He's a good horse. I'd never used the word great with him because in all of his races, he's never been close to losing. I'm talking this year, not last year, obviously, but this year he's never really been close to losing. But you haven't seen that take your breath away type of performance. It's just been very workmanlike. He gets the job done. He really hasn't extended himself, but it's not like, okay, this horse is just an absolute monster. We got our breath taken away Saturday. He went from a good horse to one of the best we've seen in a while with that performance. And it was absolutely breathtaking to see him run down the stretch. Manny Franco does one of this. He stops, he looks back, and he goes, no need to that. Put the stick right in my pocket and let this monster just breeze down the Saratoga stretch where so many great horses have breezed down that stretch and won races there. And for him to do that as a New York bred in a year like this, absolutely incredible. It gave me chills. It was fantastic to watch. I can now say I am very lucky to see a horse like Tiz the Law win a race like the Travers.
You did a great job of wrapping it up. I got a little, and granted, it was partially the rum that I had to drink, but I got a little emotional when I was thinking later at night, just about the ramifications of this and how that, from a pure horsemanship standard, the trainer Barclay Tagg, who's 82 years old, and he's only really had that one superstar horse once before, Funny Side, in 2003. How many horses have we seen fall this year? We've, half of the entire Baffert stable just got turned over during the summer. Maxfield, was telling he was couldn't say all these great horses either fell off or got hurt. And Tiz the Law has been the one constant all season long. And that brings me to my big point is that Tiz the Law, for me, this is the hero that American horse racing needs in this exact moment. And I'll tell you why. I got a bunch of points. I'm going to make a good, clear case here for you. Not that I have to convince you, but let's start with his roots. He's a New York bred, like you said. He's not from Kentucky, where you've got horses selling for millions of dollars, stallions standing for $250,000 just for a date with no guarantee that the horse that comes out is going to be any good. So you've got the blue collar aspect of New York, which is a hardworking state. People have to really scrap to survive and get ahead sometimes. And then you look at the connections. Barclay Tagg, like I said, is 82 years old. He's got a very small stable. He's never been about quantity over quality. He takes his time. He doesn't push horses along. With Tiz the Law, I mean, he was ready to be a top Kentucky Derby contender when it was supposed to be in May. And for him to have to press pause, rework everything back up, and then go Belmont, Travers, and now to the Kentucky Derby is impressive. And then you think about his assistant trainer is his partner for the last 30 plus years. She's on the horse 6 days a week. That seventh day, her niece is the one that's the exercise rider that's out there when it's a timed work. You put Heather Smolin on, and she knows how to ride that horse. His groom has been with him literally every day since he's been at Barclay Tagg's barn. Well before he debuted, which was literally a year ago to the day of when he won the Travers. He did it at Saratoga against New York breds. By the way, you could get 7-2 on him that day. That was the last time you'll ever get anything close to 7-2 on Tiz the Law in a race. And then you go beyond that, the owners, Saratoga Stable, they're blue collar people like you and I, Aaron, because it's 35 people in Saratoga that got together, created this little group, and they own a horse that only cost $110,000 in the sport of kings when horses, again, are going for millions of dollars. So all of these things are just showing that this is a blue collar horse and connections through and through. They need to pump and promote the shit out of everything related to Tiz the Law in the weeks leading up to the Kentucky Derby, because this is the horse that we need to really promote American racing and get people interested. Nobody's going to care if it's the umpteenth Baffert horse that comes in, or Pletcher, or Chad Brown, who's the king of every damn stakes race in New York. This horse beat all of those guys, beat what they had as their best chances, and ran them into the ground. And now he's going to the Kentucky Derby and could very well be less than even money when they break out of the gate.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I was excited to hear your today. So it was great. Let me just say something about the ownership group. I can tell you firsthand how nice these people are. I actually know one of them who bought into Tiz the Law, and he was at the Pegasus. And I didn't know he was there. He didn't know we were there. We basically just almost ran face to face into each other. We were friends from Oakland Park. And anyway, he said, "Hey, Jack Knowlton, who's the head of Saratoga, it's like they're going to be at this benefit for TAA Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance that they're going to have in the paddock at Friday night at Gulfstream. You guys should come." It's like, sure, we could, but we have shorts and t-shirts. They're like, no, don't worry, not a dress code. Just donate at the door and come in. So we come in, and I met Jack Knowlton, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. And here's why I say that. I talked to the guy for probably 15 minutes. I was completely hammered. I had rum all over my shorts that I spilled that day. Because Friday before the Pegasus, we just drink a lot at the tea bar at Saratoga. I was a mess. But I knew him from Funny Side because, I wasn't into the game, but I remember watching Funny Side. And I recognized him. And the guy was just world class, and after I met him, I thought, boy, it would just be great if this horse went on to do something. And now there he is. So I'm very thankful, to accidentally meet him that day and just can come on here and just say how nice of a guy he is as well.
That's a fantastic story. Dennis literally just posted that. That's really a fantastic. And you told me there's going to be a Magic Mike exclusive story, so that's really great.
Listen, that's 3. I've got 3 for you. So.
Oh, geez. Okay. So, again, very much these are very nice people. Jack Knowlton's great on camera. They were very smart on Fox to interview him and show him all over the place. He's got an infectious smile. You just want these people to do well, and you have this whole redemption story that's 17 years in the making. They take Funny Side, they buy him for $75,000. He's a gelding. He was foaled in New York. Distorted Humor is his sire. At the time, Distorted Humor was not a good stallion. He wasn't getting good mares, and so he wasn't who we think of today. And they take Funny Side. They win the Kentucky Derby. They win the Preakness. They're third in the Belmont. They don't get to go to the Travers. They end up winning the Kentucky Jockey Gold Cup with him. All great things, but they're missing the Belmont. Tiz the Law comes along in this crazy ass year, wins the Belmont, now wins the Travers. So they've hit all of these little goals that they've wanted. And I don't know them as well as you do, but being Saratoga locals, considering they'd won the Kentucky Derby with Funny Side, I really think that this race meant more to them. Winning this race meant more to them than winning the Kentucky Derby. Not that they don't want to win the Kentucky Derby, but I think this race at their home track with everything that's been happening in this crazy year, I think this is what they were really hoping to get. And for them to get it by 5.5 lengths when he could have, won by double that much if he tried. Just beautiful.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this is the race they wanted. I don't care what anybody says. Magic, one day you'll go to Saratoga. You would have went this year if we could have made it work. Obviously, can't. Nobody can. But you'll go and you'll realize what that meant, because you will understand what that town is all about. And you being from that town, these people being from that town, to win a race like the Travers is truly, truly special. It's hard to put into words unless you've been to Saratoga and know what that town's all about. So yeah, they wanted it. I was so happy for them. I was rooting my ass off for them to win this race. So it was great.
You had told me earlier that this race kind of reminds you a little bit about the 2016 Florida Derby. I'm real curious to hear what that story is, where you kind of got that comparison.
Well, so the build up to the race was kind of the same, because in 2016 you had Nyquist and you had Mohamed, right? And for some reason, Doug O'Neill shipped Nyquist to Florida, to Gulfstream Park. He's stabled in Santa Anita. He skipped the Santa Anita Derby and he ran in the Florida Derby. And all of a sudden he runs into Mohamed, who at the time was the big horse in the East. So we're getting that East-West matchup a race earlier than what we usually get, the Kentucky Derby. So it was a huge hyped up deal, right? So it kind of reminded me of that. And here's another thing. This is what I wanted to get into, a kind of an instructional thing, an educational thing, okay? I was scared of Uncle Chuck, big time. I'm not going to be like Ricky, and I hate him. Ricky hated him the whole time. I was scared of him. I was definitely scared of him, right? But the one thing that in the back of my mind was, this horse has not changed his leads either time. And I feel like I've just repeated this over and over and over. And nobody really talked about it other than me, I feel like. But it's such a big factor, and I think that's why he didn't get second in this race. So when you don't change your leads and you get tired, you don't get that extra burst of energy when you do change your leads. So if you're kind of new to the game, you're not understanding. Horses run on their left lead, and then when they get in the stretch, they switch and they run on their right lead. And all that means is their right foot is leading, not their left foot.
Mm-hmm.
He hadn't done it. Now, the first race, maiden special weight, first time out, I throw that out. But when he didn't do it in the Los Al Derby, I knew there could have been a little problem. So that is one thing to always look at when you get in these head-to-head battles, and it's really hard to separate them on paper. And coming into this race, the numbers were close. That is a separator right there. And what reminded me of it was the same thing. Mohamed and Nyquist, they were very, very close together, right? Going into that race. It was really hard to decide on paper what to do. Mohamed, here's the other thing I could tell you about. I know two tells about horses, and that's it. Don't ask me anything else. The leads and when their ears are pinned. That's a bad sign. And Mohamed was winning those races at Gulfstream. His ears were pinned back the whole time. And when a horse has his ears pinned back, they're unhappy. They're whether they're agitated, they're unhappy, there's something going on, right?
Yeah.
That was the separator for me in that race. When you get it, when it gets real tight, things like that can make the difference. And it doesn't work out every time. And I'm not saying every horse that wins with the ears pinned back it isn't a good sign. But overall, it's not. When you walk up to a horse and you're going to pet a horse and his ears are up, he's not going to bite you. When their ears are pinned back,
straight back, yeah,
stay away from them.
Yep.
Or go at them slow. Make them know it's okay. I've owned two horses in my life. One always had his ears like that. One always had his ears pinned back. And which one do you think tried to bite me? It's just, that's the thing. So it reminded me of that. It's just, there are little angles that horse people have taught me over the years. And at the time, both of them told me, and it's just, I just don't see where that's ever going to be relevant. They said, keep it in the back of your mind. There will be a situation where that comes into play. And that's what the 2006 Florida Derby and now this Travers, it kind of reminded me of the same thing.
I love that you explained that. I actually had to remind myself what the difference, why the lead was such an important thing, because especially when horses are younger or they're in lower levels, you see them on the wrong leads all the time. If you're watching live or the replay right here, this is Kodachrome. He is on the correct lead at the top of the stretch, which Aaron was saying, that right front leg is the one that's leading forward. And yeah, you explained it perfectly, how it works, why it's important to get that second burst of energy. It's like it's the natural thing that Jason Service was trying to recreate illegally. And it works for these horses. The ears pricked thing, Monomoy girl, they always would like, the hashtag whenever she runs is ears up, because her ears, when she's running well, those ears are straight up the entire time she's running. It's a great thing. So I'm really glad that you brought those aspects up. The thing about the Florida Derby that, because I went and watched the replay this morning, Nyquist versus Mohamed Nyquist was the second choice. Mohamed was sub even money in that race. He was 5 for 5. 4 of those were graded stakes wins going in, and Nyquist was your Breeders' Cup Juvenile Champion. And Mohamed was 5 for 5 going into that. You could literally see the moment his heart broke at the top of the stretch, just like I thought you could with Uncle Chuck versus Tiz the Law, where there was just that moment when Uncle Chuck just quit. He said, nope, I'm not winning, and this isn't fun, and F you guys, I'm going home. Mohamed raced 8 times after the Florida Derby, including the Florida Derby. He never did better than 4th. He ran as a 4-year-old, and he never hit the board in 8 starts because Nyquist broke his heart so badly. He didn't even get to cross $1 million earning. Like, he was that close, and they kept running him, trying to get him. They put him in an allowance race, and he couldn't get it. It was just crazy how that happens.
Here's exclusive story number 2 for the Magic Mike show today that I've you guys. Later on that year, Saratoga Slim and I are messing around on the backstretch at Saratoga. We run into Junior Alvarado, who was the rider of Mohamed.
Mohamed, yep.
Saratoga Slim loved Mohamed. Saratoga Slim says to Junior, what's up with Mohamed? Because he was sucking at the time. Because he has very small feet, and certain surfaces he just cannot handle at all. And I was like, is that why he pins his ears back? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Certain surfaces he will never run well on, and he'll never be able to handle because he has very small feet. So there you go. So one more thing. I've got a guy at my front door. He's rang the doorbell twice, and he just knocked on my window. So I'm going to have you fill 2 seconds while I see what he wants, okay?
Yeah, no, go ahead. You go ahead and do that. I'll pull up a couple of the chat things here that you guys have been great. So again, if you're able to join the Magic Mike show, we do this every Monday and Thursday. We try to do it at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern on those days. Mondays, it's usually Mike and I. Today I've got Aaron, and we'll talk about what kind of things we learned from the weekend instead of just rehashing what happened. I want to pull up Mike Myers, another great point. He said Serengeti, Tom Amos, trainer of Serengeti Empress, who we're going to talk about a little bit, is the exact same way regarding the ears when you watch it. We're going to talk about her race in a little bit. I thought that she was just about as impressive as the other 2 horses we're going to talk about, the way that she ran that race. Earlier, there was let me see if I can find you. Somebody brought up why they sent, there it is, Bush League Racing. They sent Nyquist to Florida for the Florida Derby. There was $1 million bonus because he was sort of Florida. I did not know that. That is a very good reason to send him there. And to skip. You can look back at, if you didn't know that information, which I didn't, thank you for contributing that. If I hadn't known that beforehand, I would have thought it was just they were that confident, or maybe O'Neill had somebody that he wanted to keep home. Kind of like we saw Bob Baffert do with Cezanne and Uncle Chuck to break them up, right? He's like, well, Uncle Chuck's the better horse. He's going to send him to Saratoga and try and do the Travers, which when you think about that, how bad would Cezanne have been in the Travers? I mean, Uncle Chuck was the only horse he could beat was Chivalry, who dropped anchor halfway through the race. Like, would Cezanne have done any better than 6th? Then I don't know. It's an interesting way to put it. Heartbroken horses. This is a thing that I've learned sometimes the hard way, because we fall in love as fans and bettors with certain horses, and when that heartbreak happens, man, it's kind of like when you get a female horse, especially when they decide that they're done, they are done. Abel Tasman will always be the example I think of with that Abel Tasman, when she decided she was done 2 races before her career ended, it was very evident. And Bob Baffert, her penultimate start before the Breeders' Cup Distaff, which was her final race, Baffert blamed that there was a sickness going around and that she caught a little bit of it. But if you watch how she was in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, against Monomoy girl, man, she, again, halfway through the race, she just threw it in. Had the same thing happen with this girl right here with Lazy Daisy. I don't know if she was so much heartbroken, but she just didn't. She just decided she was done. But Aaron's back. Welcome back. You figure out if it was it the Golden State Killer at your door?
No, so they're burying like my internet cable line, and they had to come in and make sure they didn't hit like a sprinkler. So I'm living in a new build, and so the line's not buried. So I have to flip over to hotspot. I don't think I'll lose service, but if I do, I'll be right back.
Perfect. Yeah, no, go right ahead. We'll just sit here and BS some more while you throw it over. So
I think it'll be fine. So
we'll figure it out. But anyways, while Aaron tries to figure out if his internet's going to keep working, we'll move on to the Longines Test Stakes, which was 1 race prior. This was the 7 furlong. This was this test, but literally was a test for Gamine, her final one before we go to the Kentucky Oaks. And so curious to see how that happened. Aaron's camera is frozen. Are you still there audio-wise? No, we've lost Aaron. We've lost Aaron completely. We'll figure out how to get him back in a little bit here. I'm gonna pull him out of the feed here. But we had Gamine winning the Longines test. It was an incredible effort. Aaron's back. There he is.
You'll be good the rest of the time now.
There we go. We're good. Your other one's frozen. You want to see what you look like on the other one there? Oh, the screen went black. Darn. Okay. I was gonna say you're just frozen with a perfect face on. We covered everything you want to talk about with the Travers, right?
Yeah. The little feet was the last story I had.
You know what? I apologize. I do want to take it back real quick. Just one thing Mike and I talk about is looking back on this race. Who would you take out of this moving forward? For me, I think it's going to be pretty obvious that you would only really want Tiz the Law as far as win. I was pretty impressed with Caro. He was not going to beat Tiz the Law, and I don't think even on his best day he's the same type of animal. But you got to remember, this horse broke his maiden in January. We don't see him again until the Peter Pan last month, and he almost beats Country Grammar, who had a race experience on him, a little bit more time on him. And then he comes back here, and I thought the Caro you gave out the exacta in the guide and the trifecta. For the reason that I think I was too, as the Caro was improving. Country Grammar, I wasn't that impressed with at the Peter Pan. I thought Caro could have won that race if there wasn't a little bit of bumper car action. But beyond him, Max Player, Linda Rice said, I mean, we're on Monday now. Linda Rice still doesn't know if she's even going to send him to the Kentucky Derby. He's in on points, and she's like, I don't know. He was passed out so hard, we thought he was dead in his stall on Sunday because he was just that tired from the race. So anybody here interest you moving forward other than Tiz the Law?
Yeah, same for me. Caro for sure. I thought he was making a winning move, and he kind of actually was. He just ran into Tiz the Law, but he looked really good rounding the corner there. He should have won the Peter Pan. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. You watch that race, my goodness. And he still probably got interfered with more than a lot of people let on in that race as well. So Caro going forward, he looks like a really, really good horse. Listen, Max Player, almost dead in the stall or not the next day. He's just not a horse that I can ever pick to win. I think he's that great third or fourth place horse in these types of races. But it's going to take a class drop for him to ever win a race, in my opinion. That's just kind of how it is with him. But yeah, I mean, Caro definitely going to take him. And that's probably about it as far as who could win a race that they're going to start it next time out. Obviously not the Kentucky Derby for Caro, but he could win, one of these minor races or grade 2 races even that are still left on the calendar.
We had a quick question from Dennis. He wants to know if you think that Luis Saez's ride on Uncle Chuck will affect, because that's pretty much Bob Baffert's go-to guy on the East Coast right now. If you think that'll affect their relationship, I don't think there's anything. I think Luis Saez did exactly what he should have, which was go to the front. He really didn't have a whole lot of pressure from Chivalry or Tiz the Law early. I think he just wasn't good enough. I don't think there's anything the jockey could have done differently. What did you think?
Well, same. Yeah. I mean, he ran the exact same race he had ran the last 2 times. Get to the lead, get to the rail, never leave it. I mean, he did the same thing in this one. It's just he got tired because he went 1.25 miles, and when you get tired, you don't change your leads. That's what happens. You fade. I mean, you got to be really, really good to win a race like that. So, and to have that flaw that he has, and he just wasn't good enough, like you said.
Yeah, a huge 108 buyer for Tiz the Law winning the Travers. Let me make sure I got there. 109. I'm sorry, 109.
Yeah, and 108.
Gamine. So on Sunday we had the Ellis Park Derby, which for the first time is Kentucky Derby prep race. Art Collector was a huge favorite. He was 2-5 when he ended up winning. There's no surprise that he won. It was a crapshoot of really just graded stakes possible winner and horses behind him. Art Collector is going off to the Kentucky Derby. He's probably going to be the second choice after everything that we've seen recently. I think Honorary P is going to slip quite a bit after losing a Shared Belief. How does Art Collector compare to Tiz the Law? That you guys posted on Race Dude's Twitter asking, is he a legitimate shot? Does he have a legitimate shot to beat Tiz the Law or to challenge him? Where do you see these two a month out from the Derby?
I mean, I think Art Collector is a pretty nice horse, and I think that's kind of where it ends, right? I mean, the horse continues to run triple-digit buyers, so it's pretty impressive. You do it over and over and over again. I mean, he gets good time form numbers. Listen, this race was a paid workout for him. I don't think he ever got out of first gear. Blah, 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 blah. You say the whole thing, and then it's like, well, unfortunately, he has to face Tiz the Law. who won the Travers without getting out of first gear and earned a 109. So look, if Tiz the Law stubs his toe in the Derby, our collector is one of the ones, right? And he's got the running style that can win the Kentucky Derby. He has tactical early speed. If nobody goes to the front, he can go wire to wire. If people or horses are out there flying on the lead, he can sit off. He's just not going to be able to outrun Tiz the Law if Tiz the Law comes up with that kind of race again. And quite frankly, nobody can.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And as a tease, we already found out our boy Saratoga Slim, the award-winning Kentucky Derby pace analyst, is already to work with a month to go, looking at right now with the projected field how it's going to shape up. So make sure when the Racing Dudes Inside Track to the Kentucky Derby wagering guide comes out, it will be in there. I'm sure it's going to be pristine and fantastic, as it always is. Aaron, let's go ahead and talk about not the Ballerina Stakes. I jumped ahead. We started to talk about Gamine, and then you came back. Let's talk about Gamine in the test, if I can find the damn right race here. Race 10 at Saratoga, one race prior. Hey, listen, if it wasn't for Tiz the Law's effort in the Travers, you were already saying on the live stream, rightfully so, this is the best performance you're going to see this weekend, of this week, for the next few weeks until we get to the Derby Oaks weekend. I don't have any issue with you saying, because I don't think either of us thought Tiz the Law was going to do what he did. She gets a 108 by her, as you mentioned, for winning the Longines Test Stakes. Really great effort here. Is she going to be able to handle that Kentucky Oaks difference? Because Bob Baffert puts her in a 7-furlong race instead of routing to prepare her. Are you concerned about that moving forward?
Well, yeah, I am concerned about the distance. There's no doubt about that. And I think 1 1/8 is going to be the big challenge for her. And I think a lot of people are ready to fade her after this, thinking that 1 1/8 she can't carry that speed. I'm going to tell you something. The talent on this one's absolutely unbelievable. And I still think she might have been the best 3-year-old on that day. I mean, I love a horse who is in control, in the lead, and then a really nice horse comes up next to her. And not only does she turn her away, but it's just like, who are you? Just toss them in the trash. I mean, that was just a ridiculous performance. The big difference was we saw her do it in the Acorn. We've never seen Tiz the Law do that until Saturday. So I was confident Tiz the Law was not going to run a better race than Gamine. Whoops. Yeah, I mean,
you're forgiven.
It's one of those things, man. It's just like, wow, that was like just awesome, just completely awesome. Nobody's going to beat that horse at 7 furlongs or a mile. That much we know. Certainly didn't look to be slowing down much. So, 1 1/8 is a huge test, especially when you got a horse like Swiss Skydiver, who's very good and has proven that she can run, turns effectively. So that'll be the challenge, but I think Gamine will be my Kentucky Oaks pick. Spoiler alert on that one.
Big surprise there. I think you really have to make a hard case. If it wasn't Gamine or maybe Swiss Skydiver, beyond that, it's just like the boys, really. There's 2 right at the top, and you could maybe make a case hard for a third one. Beyond that, everybody's just fighting for the scraps underneath. I want to bring up something that I found quite entertaining over the weekend, and until I saw the Saved by the Bell trailer this morning, was going to be the best thing I saw. One of the co-owners of Venetian Harbor, Dominic Saviz, he's 34 years old. It's got to be great to be owning a Kentucky Oaks contender when you're 34 years old, the way that he is. He put out something on Saturday and then backed it up again today. He is quite convinced that Joel Rosario aboard Venetian Harbor purposely lost the race. And what I mean is there was a full discussion before the race, which is what happens with the connections, the owners, trainer, the jockey. They figure out what is plan A for the race, plan B, C, D. They go through, if you break perfectly, here's what you do. If Gamine takes back, here's what you do. And he said on Saturday, and is now backing it up if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, he thinks Joel Rosario purposely didn't listen to their directions, which was go as fast as you can, force Gamine to keep up with you and see if you can hold her off. Now, with the effort that Gamine put in, nobody, including this guy, is saying that they were going to beat Gamine that day. His anger is that his jockey, Joel Rosario, one of the best in the country, purposely lost the race. And here's where it gets interesting. Rosario's agent dropped Umberto Rispoli earlier this year and picked up John Velasquez's book. John Velasquez was on Gamine, and he is certain that the agent who controls 2 of the best jockeys worked in coercion with the top trainer, Bob Baffert of Gamine, to try and lose the race here. It's at least interesting conspiracy theory talk. I don't know how much I buy into it, but I understand his frustration here.
Well, I would say this. I understand his frustration because I thought Venetian Harbor would be on the lead. And I said on the live show, yeah, I think she'll be on the lead and Gamin will be the one kind of sitting off. Listen, I don't think the outcome mattered. I don't really think they tried to throw the race. I don't think it was cheating. Yeah, I don't think cheating was going on. But I will say I thought it was a ride that could have been a little more aggressive. Let's put it that way. I definitely think Venetian, when you're trying to upset a big favorite like that and a horse that is better than you, you need to get out in front. You need to use your most dangerous weapon. Venetian Harbor, her most dangerous weapon is speed, and she didn't use it. So I get his frustration. I don't believe in the conspiracy theory, though.
This is where, specifically if you're watching the live feed, this is what he's talking about, where you can see Velasquez is hunched forward, allowing Gamin to just run naturally, and Rosario's perched back and is holding up. So that's where his anger comes in. And he said multiple times too, he isn't saying that they lost because of this. He's mad because Rosario didn't listen to the directions that they had. I can understand that, and he's already said that Rosario is never touching that horse again. So I guess we don't have to worry about that coming back up as an issue anymore, do we?
Well, you know a lot about racing, just like all of us do here. Is Rosario really a good fit for that horse in the first place? No, he's not a speed rider. So what was he doing on there anyway?
Great question. Yeah, I would have definitely put. I mean, hell, this is going to sound crazy. Kendrick Carmouche would have been a better choice because sure. Kendrick Carmouche, and I've learned from you, from Slim, from Ricky, Carmouches go out of the gate, and if it doesn't work, fine. But I mean, there's a guy out in California named Edwin Maldonado who I love. If he's going to be on a speed horse, that horse is going, and I do not have to guess for 1 second what he's going to do on that horse.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So if you have a speed horse, get a speed rider. There you go. Simple enough. And don't be crazy if you think people are cheating. I don't really think that happened in that race.
Speaking of speed riders, Luis Saez, it didn't work on Uncle Chuck, but boy, did it work in the Ballerina Stakes on Serengeti Empress. This was a Breeders' Cup winning year for the filly and mare sprint. And what's great about this race is a 7 furlongs. The filly and mare sprint is a 7 furlong dirt race. But Aaron, I got to tell you, man, this was a new Serengeti Empress to me, where she got challenged on the lead and fought back. And there used to be, if Serengeti Empress was going to be the lone speed in the race, yeah, you've got to use her on every multi, and you can't afford to bet her to win on top, because if one horse goes after her, even after half a mile, she drops anchor and she's gone. She didn't drop anchor here, man. She fought hard with Latruska, who might not be a grade 1 caliber horse, but was definitely applying pressure. Lesser horses have taken Serengeti Empress down before. She holds on to win. This was just, I thought, a fantastic effort from her, and really solidifies her as a top candidate for the filly and mare sprint now. What did you think?
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And you kind of missed the point of, she missed the break too. Like, she was like,
that's true. She was.
And they just rushed her up the rail. Listen, this horse has to be the easiest horse to ride, right? Just don't overthink it. If you break last, just rush her to the front. If she breaks on top, keep her in the front. Never put that horse behind another horse ever, ever, ever again. Ever. Don't ever do it. If you have to go 19 seconds for the opening quarter, do it. That's how she wins. And if she fades after setting the pace and being in front, so be it. She got beat, but that's the only way she wins races. And listen, I would so much rather her be in front with a horse hounding her and running a 43 for a half than her stalking the pace. I mean, when she gets to the front, she's damn tough to pass. She proved it here. You got to be a really, really good horse to do it. It looked like in the stretch, Bellafina was going to do it, and she just kept going. She likes that lead, and when she gets it, she's tough. So I thought it was an excellent ride by Luis Saez, because a lot of jockeys, when they would have broke like that, would have just tried to take back or try to take mid-pack. No, just send her.
Rosario would have had her last.
Exactly, yeah, and Tom Amos would have accused him of cheating, probably, right? So, I love that Amos said, "Hey, I told Luis Saez, just go to the lead. I don't care what, go to the lead. I don't care what happens, go to the lead." And he did it, and she won. So she deserves a ton of credit. That was a monster effort.
I mean, you brought up the fractions that she went 21-3, 43-3, so 22 seconds for that from the quarter to the half mile, and she still held on. A lot of times in these races, Aaron, you see the horses, if they go that fast, especially if there's two of them doing it, They both drop anchor, and then that's when you have Bellafina, Victim of Love, who were in those stalking closing trips, come up and take care of it. Latruska faded. Serengeti never did, and I didn't think that Saratoga was overtly playing to speed where it would have favored horses on the front end. The results of the second and third place horses, Cookie Dough fell dead last. I think it kind of hints. You guys said I think it was on the live show, she just ran them off their feet early, and they spent so much energy trying to keep up with her. Nobody had that really big closing kick late, right? Like this wasn't a speed favoring issue.
No, it was one of those things. I had Pink Sands, which was maybe my worst pick of the year, by the way. And I was thinking of the backstretch. I was like, she's so damn far back. She's not going to win, but it's setting up to where she's going to make a move. She didn't move. Come Dancing was a horse I thought, oh, now that one's getting a great trip. She's going to mow these horses down in the stretch. Didn't move. I think they were all chasing that fast pace. And like I said, they were just as tired when they entered the stretch. And that's what it means when you say run a horse into the ground. What you just said is exactly what happened.
It just was incredible. One thing that has been going on in the chat a little bit is bringing up that in her last race, supposedly she was in heat, and this is kind of an issue that they blamed that for Bellafina losing the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, was that they found out afterwards that she was in heat, and that's why she didn't have a great race. I don't know if that's something that you can really make it. That's not a handicapping angle that you can make public. Really, it seems like that's such a, as much as we'd like it to be, that's such a ticky-tack thing. That's like saying, well, Bellafina was 5 degrees higher temperature than she normally does. Like if they release that sort of thing, it'd be great to have. But I'm not an animal, veterinarian expert. Neither are you. But I don't know how much being in heat really affects them when they're running like that. Do you have any insight on that?
Like I said at the first of the show, I know about the ears pinned back, and I know about the lead's not changing. The other stuff, the in heat, I don't know.
We'll leave that to the experts on that one. Yeah.
Maybe we can get Heather in here. She'll tell you about being in heat, but I can't comment.
Yeah. Well, we will, if you're listening to the podcast, we'll go ahead and add things now. If you're watching live, there's something that I wanted to bring up with Aaron here that I thought would be really great. We had a couple disqualifications over the weekend, Aaron. One of them really blew up Twitter pretty big. I'm curious to hear what you thought about it. I'm going to go ahead and share it here in the window. We have a great participation from folks at Nyquist and Del Mar to help us out with these so we can use these for educational purposes. This is the stretch run of the Troy Stakes, and what you had here happen here, if you're not sure or if you missed it, in the Gold Silks is the one Imprimis, Empremi, Jose Ortiz is aboard, and you're going to see he's going to drift in right there, drifts in a whole lane, and he impedes Shecky Shabazz. Pulsate is the horse in the blue and green there in the back who kind of got knocked around. I thought it was the right decision to disqualify. I think a lot of people were upset, because this was the second choice, 5-2 betting, so a lot of people lost money here. Also, because American Sailor finishes second, wasn't really impeded by anything here, definitely wasn't going to beat Imprimis the way that he was running. Did you agree with the decision, and why or why not?
Well, it sounds an awful lot like last year's Kentucky Derby, right? Where Country House was not impeded at all, but several other horses were, and then Country House wins the race, and he didn't even get touched. So the same thing happened here. It helped my payout because I had American Sailor, so it definitely helped. Here's the problem I have with the DQ. You have to be consistent, okay? And Naira is not ever consistent. When I saw it, I said, well, it's at a lot of tracks that's a DQ, but not here. There's no way. They've let this go on all meet, and then they do it here, and it's like, I quit watching. I'm like, I'm getting ready for the live show. That race is over. And I glance up and I'm like, they put the two up. I can't believe it, right? I think Imprimis clearly interferes with Shecky Shabazz, and then Pulsate gets the 6 horse, gets the brunt of it as well because of the chain reaction. I mean, by the letter of the law, that's a disqualification. So you can't tell me that major bump didn't cost Shecky Shabazz second. You can't tell me that without any doubt that didn't cost him second. But the problem is Naira hasn't had a DQ like this all year at Saratoga, and it happens here. So that's what makes people angry when they watch day in and day out, and they don't take a horse down like this. Then it's a popular horse here, 5-2. A lot of people played it, and then they take him down. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of blowback.
Yeah, I thought it was the right decision, but the consistency thing is I think really what is important here. And you talked about it last week. Mike talked about it, where we had similar issues at Saratoga, where they made the right decision, but not based on precedent. Based on precedent, they made the wrong decision, which then you get into the semantics of arguing, well, how often have they actually gotten it right? It's just a giant mess. But I will say, I feel like there's a new set of New York stewards at this Saratoga meet, because you just disqualified one of the Ortiz brothers from winning a stakes race on a major day at Saratoga, and you didn't put the other one up over the top. And it was the two Ortiz brothers accidentally making the contact there. So neither one of them gets the win. I don't know. I at least got to hand it to them, because I thought that was impressive that they had the balls to disqualify an Ortiz brother from a Saratoga turf stakes race.
And I'm glad you said accident, because I really think what happened here is Imprimis, he was coming off a long layoff. He just lugged in a little bit. I really don't think this was anything intentional. That's what happens with long layoff horses. They lug in a bit. It's an unfortunate event. But I'm with you. Listen, it's a DQ. He interfered with two horses. You got to take him down.
Yeah, and to your point, like if you watch Irad's hands there and the gold silks in front, he's never off the neck. He was very, he was trying to keep straight. There was nothing to happen. So we agree on that one. This is the one that's going to be interesting. This is the Best Pal Stakes at Del Mar on Saturday. This is the stretch run. It's going to happen. There's going to be nice slow motion action here. Watch the purple and white. That's Ambivalent. Now watch in fourth there, the Red Cat, Blue Silks. Bam. And you see how hard that horse got hit, and then he stumbles. First of all, amazing athleticism from Sonic Breeze, the one horse, and Umberto Rispoli, the jockey, that they both stayed up, and then Sonic Breeze kept fighting. I thought was very impressive. In live action, Aaron, I thought that this was for sure going to be a disqualification, because I thought, well, he just got the War of Will treatment. And then as they kept showing it over and over and they kept debating, I kept thinking, I don't know that I would have made the disqualification decision. I think the big problem is that Ambivalent, and these are all 2-year-olds, so they're still learning, Ambivalent straightened out well before anybody else does. I'm going to try and pause it at the right moment on the feed here. Right there, he's straight. Ambivalent is straight down the track, and he's not going to deviate from the harrows, which are those tracks that they put into the dirt. The problem is everybody else is still rounding the turn, and they're letting their momentum carry out, and then boom, right there is the collision that happens. We went to the expert, John White, who is a veteran California steward, knows more about horse racing than you and I will ever hope to know combined. John had a very lengthy description for what he would have done, but he also went back and forth. His ultimate decision was that he thought that they made the right decision, which was disqualify Ambivalent from third to fourth, put his Doug O'Neill stablemate Sonic Breeze up into third for it. But he also understood why people were going to be upset. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I totally understand why people are upset, because this, John pointed out, he's like, the camera angles really tell.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah, every angle shows a little something different. I think I would have left this one alone because of that reason. The public is seeing all this stuff, right? It's like, this angle looks like it's the one's fault. This angle looks like it's the two's fault. I think when you get into that kind of situation, it becomes a little dicey to take something down. That was kind of my final thought on it. Another kind of lesser thing, it's like, we're talking about third and fourth place here. It's like, I don't know if you make a change on that. So I was kind of leaning towards the no change. It was kind of a gruesome looking thing there at the stretch. And I think you said it best, great athleticism, because that was almost a total disaster. And a lot of times with 2-year-olds, you get stuff like this. Stuff like this happens, especially at racing. It's not really high quality 2-year-olds. And
no,
it's just one of those I would have left alone. And I think in the end of the day, a lot of people are mad because of these shots where, it really looks like that's the one's fault, So
right.
It just depends on what you look at, but I would have left this one alone.
But I will say that, what sometimes we'll come on here and we'll say, well, the stewards made the wrong call there, the right call. I think this was a difficult call no matter what. And I think you would have had people upset either way. I would have been fine either way with the decision. And I think you hit it perfectly, Aaron, was that this is such a tricky spot. And Del Mar's got cameras everywhere. This isn't, Fauner Park where you've got one camera the whole time. You've got plenty of angles here. It's just, it's hard to figure out. But it's interesting, too, because they were from the same stable. You would have thought that, well, maybe the stewards would have, let things go because it wasn't that affected. But
yeah,
oh well.
No, I'm with you. It was just one of those things. To me, if it's a really close call, I would always err on the side of no change.
All right. Well, that is going to do things for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. I want to thank Aaron Halterman from the Racing Dudes for joining me here to talk about everything. And hopefully we're able to give you guys some good educational info. I know I learned some more things from Aaron. So thank you very much, Aaron, for joining us. I also want to congratulate you because the inside track to the Travers Stakes wagering guide did much better than the Whitney one. It seemed like you had one of those days the last weekend where the Whitney day was just until the late pick four, man, you couldn't nail those damn turf races. You did much better this time around, and I knew this was the real Aaron we were going to see. You bounced back well, so congratulations on that one.
Well, the Whitney guide, a lot of things just happened on that day. It's just like, my God, how many photos are we going to lose here? If I'd have a horse on the lead and he'd get beat. I'd have a horse coming from behind. He'd get beat. Yeah, so it came around Travers. Travers is great. I always put a lot of pressure on myself on a day like the Travers because it means so much to me, that race, and the worst feeling in the world is if you don't do well on a race like the Travers Day. It's like, oh my gosh, like I've looked forward to this race all year and I sucked. So yeah, it was good to do it. I appreciate it, Magic. Yeah, hopefully, I think Pacific Classic is the next guide. So we'll be back for that.
Thank God. That means I get this week off.
Yeah,
you and I both get this week off from the guide.
Tell me about it. We get this week off, Pacific Classic, next week off, then the Kentucky Derby. So.
Oh God.
Yeah. So enjoy your week is what I'm telling you.
I'm gonna have to go buy more Captain Morgan. I don't have enough. I don't have left. Coming up this week, we don't have anything too huge, but we do have the Alabama Stakes, which is a Breeders' Cup win and urine for the distaff. It's crazy because in a normal year, the Alabama comes after the Kentucky Oaks, so then they can go a mile. They try a mile and a quarter for the first time. They're going to go a mile and a quarter here, and then 99% of them will never run a mile and a quarter again. I don't even know who's probable for the Alabama at this point. Definitely not going to be Kameen. I think this is why you see Bob Baffert put her in the test, 7 furlongs instead of a mile and a quarter. Don't want to run her too dirty. The Saratoga Derby Invitational is back for its second year. You've got 5 stakes races at Woodbine, including the Plate Trial and the Woodbine Oaks. So, you and I are the two people who care about it in this group, but that's going to be exciting as well. Otherwise, a nice easy-ish week before we get the Pacific Classic. Maximum Security, by the way, reportedly worked lights out recently for that. So
yep.
I think I know who I'm picking for the Pacific Classic.
Yeah, me too. I think you'll see a better horse in the Pacific Classic than we saw last time out in the San Diego.
And the weight difference will, because it's not a handicap in the Pacific Classic. I think he was carrying ridiculous amount of weight over everybody else. I think you're going to see him run much better. And then all those people who said Maximum Security is terrible after he won the San Diego, we're going to find you and we're going to remind you of how stupid you were.
For him makes a big difference, I think, because he's not a big horse. So to me, weight on a smaller horse, it's just logically that would make sense. That would hurt them more, So
yeah. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Make sure you're following the Racing Dudes on Twitter at @racing_dudes. Blinkers Off is live streaming every Thursday. The episode comes out Friday. Then on Saturdays for the big days, everybody shows up here. However you're watching or listening, we show up right here to do a fun live show. Hopefully you enjoyed the Travers one. I was there watching the whole time. I waited till the right moment to join it. And that's what you heard at the top of the podcast was when I suddenly just jumped in and surprised everybody.
That was great. That was my favorite part of the show for sure. Him just you're nuts.
That and then Ricky spending 10 minutes just destroying Uncle Chuck for how bad he was. Those were the highlights. So if you want to watch the replay, just go to the last 20 minutes. You'll catch everything you need to know right there.
Well, this is perfect timing. I think the guy's coming back to the door. So
perfect. Well, that'll wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us for Magic Mike Show. He's Aaron Halterman. I'm Magic, and we will see you guys next time. And at one of these times, I'll have this damn thing queued up properly. See you.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.